to the entertainer talking sports.
What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video. And in this video, I am going to talk about a hypothetical situation to do with the 2020 draft, being that we're 2-11, and a lot of people's minds are on, at this point, the number 2 overall pick, because that is where the Giants fall. They sit a game back behind number 1. They sit, they're really up 2 on pick number 3. So it seems as if there's a good chance we will finish with the number 2 overall pick. And I got this video idea actually off of one of my subscribers, off of Twitter, Neil. So I wanted to give him a quick shout out. He asked on Twitter to a bunch of us Giants creators, I don't think anyone has addressed this yet, but what if the Bengals took Chase Young? Obviously, the Bengals right now are picking at number 1, and everybody seems to think that they will take Joe Burrow. If you look at any mock draft, the Bengals, of course, in need of a quarterback, being that Andy Dalton is clearly not the answer there, but maybe the Bengals do feel strongly enough that Chase Young is that good that they can't help but but take him there at number 1. It's certainly a possibility. Chase Young is that big of a talent. And I thought it was a really good idea for a video. So I said I'd make the video. I wanted to give him a quick shout out. And sometimes I get my best video ideas from you guys. So I thought about this for a while. And I think there's 3 different scenarios if this were to take place. The first question we have to ask ourselves, Neil, and everybody watching this video, who's the GM at this point? Is it still Dave Gettleman? Because like I've said in previous videos, if Dave Gettleman's not the GM, it is entirely possible that that new GM may in fact take Joe Burrow. And you may call that crazy, but it is possible. Now, do I think it would happen? No. And if Gettleman is here, that is completely out of the question. But of course, if they were to take Joe Burrow, they would trade Daniel Jones. Now, you would hope if that were the case, and we're all not hoping that happens. I want Daniel Jones as the quarterback. It's silly to draft the quarterback 2 years in a row that early in the draft. But I'm saying in this hypothetical scenario, if we were to take Joe Burrow, we had a new GM, you would hope that they would trade Daniel Jones before the draft, unlike what the Miami Dolphins did. Not Miami Dolphins, rather, the Arizona Cardinals did when they traded Kyler Murray to the Miami Dolphins after they had already selected a quarterback, putting themselves in a bind because everybody knew that they were desperate. So if they were to do that, it would be smart to get it done before the draft. Now, I don't see that happening. Daniel Jones, in my opinion, would probably command a late first, early second round pick. Now, some people may say I'm wrong, but I don't. Actually, Fish Vegas, who I love going on his podcast, we talked about this yesterday. I view a quarterback like a car. When you buy a car, you lose half the value as soon as it leaves the lot. Well, I view the same thing with a quarterback, unless the quarterback absolutely balls out his rookie year, similar to like what Robert Griffin III did when he was, ridiculous. You're still going to have some inexperience issues. So it's going to be very hard for that quarterback after 1 year to match his draft production. So it's almost rare at any position, but especially the quarterback position after year 1. So I don't think Daniel Jones would get you anything more than a late first-round pick. But if you were to take Joe Burrow, that is what I would think would be the course of action that you would do. Now, the more realistic approach, if Gettleman stays on, which I think he will, there's 2 options there. One, you take the best player available, and by most accounts, and obviously you got to factor need as well, but most people would tell you you go Andrew Thomas there, right? The tackle out of Alabama, who everybody seems to think is an otherworldly talent. I don't think he's given up a hit all year, let alone a sack. And he's a great talent there at the tackle position, and could certainly be a guy that you build this team around for years to come. Every great quarterback needs a strong left tackle, a blindside protector. So you could go that route. And I would guess that would be the more likely route that would be taken by Dave Gettleman. Because if you go back and look at the 2017 draft, the Giants were in a prime position to get a boatload for the number 2 overall pick. Instead, they decided to go with Saquon Barkley. And I love Saquon Barkley, but it was a draft where everybody was touting the quarterbacks. There were certainly offers. Rumors have come out that the Denver Broncos came in with offers. The Giants could have probably traded down, and they would have missed on Barkley, who they probably loved. But they would have ended up with a lot of picks and probably the 5th or 6th overall selection, and possibly could have ended up with Nelson or Chubb and had more picks for the future. So Gettleman has shown in the past when he likes a player, he's going to stay there and he's going to take him. Now, maybe he's not in love with Andrew Thomas. If that's the case, maybe he's willing to trade down, which, of course, is option number 3. And in my opinion, in this scenario, would be the option that I would prefer the most. Option number 3, which is to trade down and get a ton, because Joe Burrow is, undeniably, at least at this point in time. I always say things could change after the combine, things of that nature, but at least at this point in time, Joe Burrow is undeniably the top, quarterback prospect in this draft, and he's a guy a lot of teams would come up to get, whether it be, the Chargers, whether it be the Raiders, whether it be the Dolphins, and it would all depend on what the team was willing to offer. If I had to drop to, and again, I talked about this with Fisk in his podcast yesterday, if I had to drop to 8 or 7, I want 2 first-round picks in addition to the pick you're giving me, and that may sound like a lot, but it's been shown in the past that is what you can get. I'd want at least the 8th and a future first to go along with a second in this year's draft minimum. That would be the starting point for me, and I'd probably want more than that. But yeah, that would be the best option in my opinion. If Chase Young was off the board, I would be looking to trade down and accumulate as many assets as I can, both for this draft and future drafts, being that the Giants have a lot of holes right now, and one player isn't going to fix this overnight. But yeah, obviously we all want Chase Young, but I thought it was a really interesting situation that was brought up by Neil on Twitter, so I want to make a quick video about it, and I wanted to give him a shout out. But those would be the 3 options, and obviously the second and third option would be the most realistic approaches to take. But as always, guys, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe, drop a comment, maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.